You see me now, the veteran of the never-ending OGL Wars. My mind is a window, there's so much left to explore. Trolls on the left of me, fucking marks on the right. Oh, please don't let these shakes go on. What's up, nerds? It's your boy. It's 8:44 in the morning here at a lovely spring day. It is February the 2nd, 2024. It is bright and sunny here at Site B, though we have another warning for more floody type stuff. So make of that what you will. It's Friday. Now, in Friday, we used to do the OGL Wars, but then I was like, well, the OGLs are over. We don't need to talk about this anymore, right? The gaming community will move on and address the things regarding the 50th anniversary, and we can get back to being positive again with the 50th anniversary, right? Wrong. No. Okay, so let's just go down the stories. And of course, the number one story that has rocked the tabletop role-playing game community this week was the utter lack of facts that D&D was being for sale. So this always spirals back to a very dubious article that was found in the interweb from some Chinese company that no one's ever heard of, that Hasbro was selling D&D lock, stock, and barrel to Tencent. Tencent is a multimedia digital empire thing based in China. They've got their fingers in a lot of different games. They own a bit of this thing and a bit of this thing and a bit of this thing. The one you're probably most familiar with is Larian Studios, the creators of Baldur's Gate 3. Tencent owns 8% or 80%. I don't know. They own part of them. It doesn't really matter. Their finger, so because Larian did Baldur's Gate 3 and open the door to possible future relationships for the digital stuff that Wizards of the Coast has been talking about that they were going to do since, 2020. People are like, oh, it's got to be true, right? They're going to sell it to these guys because these guys made thing and they're blah, we're doomed. Oh my God, we're doomed. How? And of course, the best part was the people going, how dare you? How dare you sell D&D, Hasbro? And I'm like, I thought you people wanted them to sell D&D. Right? I mean, isn't the majority opinion like that Hasbro is not doing Dungeons and Dragons justice? I'm not going to play D&D. I won't buy anything from Wizards of the Coast. Blah, blah, blah. They hate me. But I'm really upset if they do anything with the game that I don't care about, that I don't like. Well, it turned out that no, this isn't happening. They're not selling it. They had no intentions of selling it. They are, as always, researching options to allow other companies to run with their IPs. One of those many companies is Larian, which means one of those many companies is Tencent. And they're just like, yeah, we do this all the time. Hey, you want to make some Dungeons and Dragons sippy cups for Starbucks? Sure. You want to make some Dungeons and Dragons stuffed animals for McDonald's Happy Meals? Sure. You want to do another D&D video game with us? Sure. It's this thing. So after I posted the video, people were like, ha, 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 OGGM, looks like I was right. They're not selling them. Or ha, 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 OGGM, you were wrong. Because, at no point in my video did I say I thought Hasbro was selling D&D. From beginning, middle, and end of that video, including when I was talking to Stephen Glicker, I said, yeah, this is probably not true, guys. Based upon the stock today, this is not true. There's no official response from Hasbro or Wizards, so this is not true. They didn't drag out Crawford or Kyle or anything for this. So yeah, it's probably not true. It's hyperbole. It's a smokescreen. It's probably just a misinterpretation, miscommunication, or just some troll desperate for attention to pay no, it's nothing. They're not going to sell it. And then I said, well, if they were going to sell anything to Tencent, it would be the digital shit. And that, I think, would be a good thing. I think we would want them to sell off D&D Beyond, the D&D video game stuff, and the D&D VTT to a company who actually knows what they're doing, because it's win-win-win. Somebody who actually knows what they're doing is handling the digital stuff, which allows Hasbro to focus that energy that they would have focused on digital onto something else like Peppa. And people are like, yeah, we don't want you to fuck up D&D by making digital and D&D Beyond and the virtual tabletop, and Hasbro could just sell it to somebody else and then go, I don't know, talk to them. And then people could be mad at Laren or whoever instead of Hasbro, which would take a little more energy off of Hasbro's shoulders and take that negative energy someplace else. And that is energy that Hasbro could invest in something more positive, like Peppa Pig. So I didn't see anything wrong with it, but apparently I got a couple OGGM, you were wrong. And I would respond to, no, I never said it. Now, the question is, where did this all come from? I mean, yeah, okay. We have to assume that Wizards and Hasbro is constantly fishing and researching for people to run with the IP, make a Beholder t-shirt for us. We don't have to do any work and we still get paid. The number one suspect though is this guy. Hold on, sorry. I got to learn how to do this better. Look at that face. Look at that face. Stephen Glicker made a video a while back, 2 weeks ago, where he postulated if Wizards was going to sell off digital D&D, who would they sell it to? And the number one contender would be Laren Studios because they've done such a great job with Baldur's Gate 3. So he made this video 2 weeks ago, and best we can guess is some Chinese AI bot spider, whatever, was prowling the interweb, saw some other things, ran with it, and then somebody was like, oh, this is my chance to show my editor that I'm worth something. Gee, Mr. Perry White. Gee, J. Jonah Jameson, look at this story. And then the J. Jonah Jameson bot was going, Parker, get me more stories about this Stephen Glicker guy and this OGGM guy. They're troublemakers. So that is the number one suspect. So congratulations, Stephen. It's all your fault. Now, I'm sure it's a lot of things. I just, having a laugh because, he did predict it. But I've been predicting it too. I mean, and it's not like it's a big surprise. Nobody should be surprised that Hasbro is even considering doing things digitally because, they've been telling you that they were going to do this for years. So yes, no, D&D is not for sale. It was never for sale. They even dragged out Crawford and Perkins to let us know it was not for sale. And things are serious if they've got to decanter another Crawford clone and, walk across the building to get Perkins and drag him out so he can look like he's half asleep and doesn't want to be there. Poor Perkins. I feel bad for him. So yeah. Now during that, moving on to story number 2, during the, hey, this isn't happening, Crawford couldn't pass up the chance to talk about 2024 Dungeons and Dragons. And he very much wanted us to know, where is it? This is from ENWorld. Thank you, ENWorld, as always. In regards to this OGL war, that the dates that they had said that you all thought D&D was coming out is not the dates is coming out. Mind you, those dates that were released at PAX Unplugged, they made very clear multiple times that those dates were not confirmed or official. It was a mistake when that original poster with this guy came up and said 2024 Player's Handbook 5/2024. It disappeared. Remember, it disappeared. And then it came back and then it disappeared again. And at the end of PAX, they said, no, it was a mistake. It was never supposed to say that. We don't have release dates yet for 2024 physical Player's Handbook, much less any of the other books. Okay. So please do not get upset when it doesn't come out in 5/24 because we never said it was coming out in 5/24. That was a mistake. Susan made a mistake. She got the wrong memo. Yeah, we don't have a date yet. Probably Gen Con, but we don't have a date yet. Nothing's concerned. We're still working on it. Well, they wanted us to make 100% sure that we knew that there was no date for 2024 Player's Handbook to come out yet. And then they never said there was a date. They're definitely not going to be ready for May. It's definitely not going to be ready for May. If anything, it'll be ready just in time, maybe for con season, which would be June. Con season starts in June with Origins, And July, we've got San Diego Comic-Con. And August, we've got Gen Con on my birthday. So if they're going to announce the release of the physical shit and the digital shit, it would be sometime between June and August, right? Origins. July, August, maybe July. Now, I think the digital stuff's ready to go. Even though they claim it's not. I mean, the Monster Manual, Digital 2024 Monster Manual, that's one night's work. 2 nights work, a week's work. That's ready. That's got to be ready. The DM's guide, I mean, 70% art, 50% of them talking about safety tools. So that's ready. So all this really need is the most important book, the Player's Handbook. And we know the general consensus is that's been ready for a while, that these surveys mean nothing. Crawford has pretty much told us the surveys mean nothing. So yeah, I would expect an announcement, if not March, by July, the digital Player's Handbook is ready to go. And you can expect the physical handbook just in time for when June comes before July. Sorry, I need caffeine. By June or the month before June, maybe May, late May, early June, digital's ready. Then they could say at Origins when we would see the physical one. And of course, the physical one would be delayed until such a time as Wizards of the Coast felt they had enough pre-sales to make it worth their while. So yes, that is our news regarding the utter lack of news from Wizards of the Coast. Now, why did all this happen, Wizards of the Coast? Why did all this happen? Could it have been a distraction? Could it have been a smokescreen? Could they have been dropping these little bombs in order that we didn't pay attention to the other story? Because I noticed nobody has talked about the fact that the new rules are supposedly floating around. We had a rumor on Thursday that has been confirmed by an insider at Wizards that the new contract, the new third-party rules, the new SRD, the new GL, I don't know what they're going to call it, for 6 or 2024 D&D is done. The contract's ready. It's in the hands of third-party creators. Sign up and obey these brand new draconian rules if you want to make product for D&D 2024, because it's not going to be the same as what we already have. It's not going to be the OGL that we know or love. It's not going to be the ORC. It's definitely not going to follow the current SRD / Open Commons, because they've already made that very clear that it's not going to, since they put it under the wrong Open Commons. And at least one company said, yeah, sure. Because another story nobody's really paying attention to is the fact that very subtly yesterday, the Foundry and Wizards announced that the Foundry is now the official VTT for Dungeons and Dragons, the official VTT. Now, the Foundry has been able to host D&D before, as most of the VTTs, but now it's official, which means now they get to upgrade, they get 100% support from Wizards, and they can now say they're the official virtual tabletop. But wait, wasn't Wizards working on a virtual tabletop for D&D? Well, this means that if there was a new contract, the Foundry agreed to it, which means they'll be able to VTT the new stuff for 2024. It means one of two things. It means either A, Wizards has just completely given up on making their own VTT, and they're like, you know what? It's much easier to have somebody else do it. You run with it. Or it's delayed. You know, it's they can't have it finished by the timeline that they said they were going to have it finished. So rather than that, they'll just say somebody else can run with it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, while they continue to work on their own. Either way, it's win-win. We don't want a Wizards of the Coast VTT, right? We should all be happy about that, right? We want, if there was going to be a VT inevitable digital, we would want it not to be them, because we don't like the way they're handling the legacy. And we would want it to be, you know, somebody who actually knows what they're doing. So interesting that nobody has covered those stories. And speaking of stories, as we do every Friday, we got to look what's going on with the other contenders in the never-ending OGL Wars. And pretty much right now, we only have 2. Right? I know they're saying other names. Daggerheart, there's a rumor that they're going to come out and say it's not going to even be ready till 2025, if not later. As I said, if they didn't announce anything by January, it's probably DOA. So I'd wait till Origins. But yeah, I don't see Daggerheart coming out to 2025. Tales from the Valiant, which leaves Tales from the Valiant, because none of the others have done anything to make me think they're going to be ready by Origins. We got no news from Diablo. We got no news from Stormlight. We got no news from any of the other ones. It's like Tales from the Valiant is the most likely to grab up that extra 5e love if people don't jump on the 5e bandwagon in 2024. So they're ready to go. But right now they're playtesting and kickstarting their Dungeon Master's Guide. Now, for those of us in the OGL, OSR, whatever you want to call it, we've got Adventurer Conqueror's King. We know people are already starting to get their backer kits and stuff. And that's probably the OGL darling, at least for now. It's not to say another one won't come along. But right now, yeah, that seems to be the number one contender to get the OGL money in 2024 for the people who don't want to back Wizards of the Coast. Fuck you, Wizards of the Coast. I hate the way you're treating D&D. I will never spend money. But I'm also really, really upset that you're doing things with D&D that I don't approve of. You're not the target audience anymore, and you just said you don't care. So make up your mind. So in other words, no real news. No real news of this, the first week of February of the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons. We are still exactly where we were last month and the month before in regards to nobody doing anything with the 50th anniversary other than the Tunnel and Trolls announcement. I mean, the Troll Lord Games announcement about the Gary Legacy stuff. That's just coincidentally. But, you know, that's a whole separate thing, and we've already talked about it. And I mean, technically, yeah, I guess it's sort of a celebration of the 50th, but I don't know. It's its own little weird subsector. But yeah, there we go. That's it for all the OGL War news, weather, and sports. If you appreciate me doing this every week, let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about it ever again, let me know. Have a great Friday. Stay safe out there. I'll talk to you all later. You see me now, the veteran of 1,000